thank you ever so much, as I said, for agreeing to meet with me today and talk to me about your sandwich placement year. So a couple of questions, if I can ask you, just to share with other students who are considering going on a placement year. So could you tell us, Keisha, a bit about you, who you are, what course you did, any career ambitions you have before you started your placement?
Yeah, so I'm Keisha Mcintosh. I'm studying psychology. I think what I'm looking for like after uni is to do like forensic psychology, or that's that like side of psychology. Um, so I'm currently on placement at a company called Capita that basically tags people, and we essentially talk to them and talk to police and probation services about anything and everything, to be honest. So yeah.
Brilliant. And what made you decide to choose that company?
I think mainly because I've heard of how like, Capita have a good progression. So even when I come back to uni, um, and then I finish my course, I know that there's always an opportunity to go back or to progress. And I know that quite from when I started now anyway, a lot of people from there have gone into probation, and then so just seeing that or gone to work in courts, or so I know that there is good development afterwards. So I thought it was a good place to start essentially.
Great. And what role are you doing there?
So it's called an operational support officer. So essentially, I'm talking to probation services, police, and the subjects themselves who are on tag. It can literally be about anything. They could call up and ask that there's something wrong with a tag, and then we'd have to task out a visit so someone can have a look. It could be the police asking for information about them, probation workers asking for information, just everything and anything to do with the person on tag. And obviously we talk to courts about like their cases and if their orders ended, or just keeping up in the loop and with everything. So
Brilliant. And on a typical day, is there a typical day even? What might that look like for you now you're out on your placement year?
I think the typical day is I'm doing the same kind of things, but what I'm being told is always different, or what people are telling me is always different. So I'm always on calls to them, or I'm always sending emails. But what makes it different every day is the responses I'm getting. So one day I might have like a lot of people I'm talking to that are on tag, and they're just not in a good day. They're not having a good day, so then they're putting it on to you. Whereas another day, I'll have someone that's really fun and like it sounds weird when I say that they're having fun, but as in that they're just having a chat with you. Because as well, they're obviously confined to certain hours, so essentially sometimes you're the only person that they might be talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we've only got a time limit when we're talking to them on the phones, but at the same time that like 5 minutes or however long can make their day a bit better, makes it a bit like doesn't make them feel that they're so confined because they do have someone to talk to if need be. Um, so essentially every day I am on the calls, taking emails or talking to managers or different teams in the department. Um, but it's always about something different, so that's why I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. And what's your favourite part of the role that you're doing?
I think it has to be talking to the subjects themselves, or even just seeing like their like reaction to them and police, like just like how they connect. Um, but I think mainly talking to the subjects themselves and seeing how, because a lot of them do want to try and improve their lives on tag. It's not always that they're just constantly getting in trouble and that's that.
Mm.
A lot of them do realise that they don't want to go back to prison, so they will stick to what they've been told to. They might ask you how they can do better, and etc. etc. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for that I do enjoy it. I think that also brings in my psychology like course element of just communicating with people and just understanding them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I'd
Super.
say.
And are there any, so obviously it sounds like you've got quite a few positive bits of it that you're enjoying, which is great. Are there any kind of downsides to the role that you've found so far?
Um, I think it's not the role itself. I think if it's only because how do I phrase this? So obviously I'm in placement, whereas quite a few of my friends are still at uni. So I think it's just seeing that separation. Sometimes it is quite like hard because obviously you get a bit of FOMO, but then at the same time, because I'm only in Manchester, for example, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
far from being able to go back or I can see them. And at the end of the day, I think both all my friends understand that we're all really busy anyway because they're in their final year and I'm on my placement. So yeah, you might get a little bit of FOMO like you generally do, but at the end of the day, everyone, your friends understand that you can't do everything. But I'd say that's probably, I guess, the hardest bit. But besides that, no, I don't say any bad downside to it.
Yeah, and it's really interesting you say that, because I know a lot of students are kind of maybe a bit anxious in terms of maybe going on a placement year, thinking about say sourcing accommodation if it is, say, outside of Sheffield. Was that something that was of concern to you, or if so, how did you overcome that? You mentioned you're at Manchester at the moment.
Yeah, so luckily for me, I'm from Manchester, so I've just essentially kind of come back home. I guess it's easier said than done because obviously I've been out of uni for 2 years, so coming back has been a bit of adjustment for everybody. But I know some of my friends are taking a placement. Like one of my friends is in Bristol, so she's had to find accommodation in Bristol. But there's loads of like websites that can help you to like rent a room or student rooms. Like there's loads of places that you can have a look, and you'll always find somewhere, even if it's getting close to your start date. You'll always end up finding somewhere. So it's just take your time with it.
I think that's really good for students to know. In terms of those who are looking at like sourcing a sandwich placement now, how did you go about sourcing yours, Keisha, and what tips have you got for students currently looking for placements?
So when I went to do my sandwich placement, I did got my LinkedIn, which I think is really helpful. But then I found this one mainly by Handshake, and I know that obviously Hallam helped me get on Handshake, set up my account. I describe Handshake as like a student version of Indeed, if you've ever had an Indeed account, and you're just scrolling through it trying to find what's suitable for you, and you can set where you want to go, so you don't have to essentially leave Sheffield to do a placement. But if you wanted to, you can. So that's, I thought is really helpful. And there's always loads of people trying to help. They'd send you like messages and be like, do you still want to look for placement? If so, what kind of things are you looking for? So I do recommend, if you do want to do a sandwich, go on Handshake, because there's loads and loads that you can choose from, paid and unpaid.
Yeah, that's really good. And is yours, are you, I don't know if you're happy to share with this, a paid placement, and if so, how does that work? And I know students are always keen to know things like, would you get time off and holidays, and do they pay you, and that kind of thing. So is there anything around that side of it that you're able to disclose or happy to share?
Yeah, so luckily mine is paid. Personally for me, I did want to find like a year out that was paid. Mainly because at one point I didn't know if I was actually going to do this placement year. So I did get a place in Sheffield, so that's why I'm a bit back and forth. So I still have to pay the rent there as well, but also how I'm working at this placement, they treat me just as any like general colleague. So it's not that I'm specifically just this one person. She's at uni. Most of the people there don't know I'm actually on a placement year and just think I've just been hired generally. But I don't think it changed their perspective on me anyway. But I think equally, I'm doing exactly the same things as everybody else. I'm just getting the same amount of holidays, same pay, everything is just equal, which I thought was really good. And that's also one of the reasons I did want to confirm doing it with them, because they got progression, and I felt like it's not that I was stood out and, oh, there's that placement student, she's just here for the year, doesn't want to do anything. So yeah, that's how.
And what, I mean, that's really good you were saying there about kind of that progression and learning and new things. Have you had kind of any training on the placement? What kind of extra skills do you feel you've gained as a result of what you've been doing on your placement year so far?
Yeah, so I started my placement on start of September, and obviously now it's November. And from my 4-week training course that we had, I've picked up new things, as in they've taught me extra things that I can do. So therefore, when I come into work, I'm not exactly doing the exact same things, because I've been trained to do other aspects or send certain emails to certain people or whatever it may be. So therefore, I think it's showing that I can do things by myself. I think it really has highlight how independent I am. And I always knew I was, but just being able to be like trusted to do things by myself, and new things and hard things, and with all this data to import it and everything, I do think that has definitely developed since being doing this placement year. But yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. So in terms of your placement year itself, to any students, as I say, who are sort of thinking about going, have you got any tips you would give them in terms of kind of how best to prepare for going out on a placement year?
I'd say it's okay to be nervous, because I was absolutely bricking it when I was first going it, then thinking, oh, I'm here for a whole year, like I do need to like just keep going. Which is true, you do, and it will get better, especially if you've had a job before. I know loads of students have obviously worked either during uni or before coming to uni. It's essentially the same thing, like first day nerves, and then you end up finding your people at work, and then you're just talking to them, and before you know it, 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, and you're at the end of your placement. So I'd also say enjoy every day, because I'm seeing now that it's nearly December and I've nearly been there for 3 months, and I just think time has flown by. But I'd say just enjoy it. It's your 1 year out. Yeah, that's all I suggest.
That's great. Well, they do say, don't they, time flies when you're having fun, and it sounds like you are, Keisha, so that's great. Is there anything that maybe you wish you'd known before you went on placement?
I think the only thing I'd say is I wish I knew more when the deadline was for finding the placement. But besides that, I think I was told everything I needed to know, so I was pretty much aware of the situation. And like I said, I have one other friend on a different course that is on a placement as well, so we're able to talk about, did you have this email? Did you know about this? And so I know not everyone will have someone that does do a placement year, but I think if you want to find out the information, you definitely can find out what you need to know for when going on placement. But I'd say I think I was pretty clued up.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Okay. Yeah, cool. And if you could give just kind of one piece of advice now to kind of every sandwich student placement before they were sort of heading off out on their placement year, what would that be, Keisha?
I'd just say enjoy it, to be honest. Like, take every day as it comes, and like, even if you think that you're having a hard day or a long week, just keep going, and it will actually get better, and you will end up enjoying it. And before you know it, you'll be back at uni. So for sure, just take every day as it comes, really. That's what I'd say.
And I suppose finally, would you recommend a sandwich placement to people, and if so, why, or if not, why?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it, because I think obviously you have the university lifestyle backing you when you go into jobs, but also I think just on how it looks, it does look good that you have experienced things in the real world, or you have attempted to do and try like a new thing away from uni. So I definitely would recommend it, and you never know, you might end up working there after university, or that job there could lead you to somewhere else. But it's just an opportunity that I think everyone should just take if they can.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Keisha, for your
welcome.
time and for sharing your thoughts and experiences. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything else you would want to say to anyone in respect to your sandwich placement year?
Yeah. Well, even so, I found out that one of the girls on my course, actually, well, on my placement, she's on a completely different course, but we managed to meet at this placement. And I would never have met her at uni because it's so big. But we were talking about it, like, she was like, yeah, hello. And I was like, yeah, you. She's like, yeah. So even just, I've instantly found someone else that I can meet up at when they go back. It's just great. So even more reason just to give it a go. You never know who you're going to find. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you very much.